you for Albert, and we just invite your presence and your spirit here to fill this place and fill Albert, God, with your truth, with your word, with your challenge and your command, your love, your mercy, that they just flow out through the word today. And would we be open vessels to be filled by.
It was 1988. My friends and I gathered around the television, and we were watching your Oakland Athletics in the first game of the World Series. A lot of you guys were not born at that point, but I was like, and this was, if you, a little background, this was probably the most dominant A's team, one of the most dominant A's teams you've ever seen. They had two of the most steroid-enhanced players ever to play the game, Mark McGwire and Jose Canseco. So they were an unstoppable force. And they were playing against the lowly Los Angeles Dodgers.
Javier. Who's
one of their best players, couldn't even play in the game because not one, but both of his legs were injured. So when he limped, you weren't sure which way he was limping because he had you limp both ways. It was 4-3 in the bottom of the ninth. 2 outs. Dennis Eckersley, maybe the greatest relief pitcher ever to play the game. Hall of Famer. Basically, once he steps into the mound, he was their closer. Basically, what that means is when you're winning, you put in your closer and you make sure that you win. And that's what he did. And that's what he did every time he came to the up to the plate or came to the mound. And it's 4-3, 2 outs. And guess who steps up to bat? The guy with 2 gimpy legs, Kurt Gibson. Don't know which way he's limping because he limps both ways. And then there's this statistic that shows up on the screen, which says Dennis Eckersley has not allowed a home run since August 24th. Which is to say that Dennis Eckersley has not given up a home run in a very, very long time. There's one guy at first base. There's Kurt Gibson, gimpy in both legs, is that bad? But as soon as that statistic showed up, there was a sinking feeling in my heart. Eckersley has not given up a home run for a very long time. Because there's this thing, if you watch sports enough, you know there's this thing called the announcer's curse. And as soon as the announcer says anything positive about your team, anything that they do well all the time, or you got 90% free throw shooter, whatever, as soon as they say something like that, inevitably, they miss the next shot. And when this came up, my heart started to sink because, sure enough, on the very next pitch, Kurt Gibson, 2 gimpy legs, cracks a home run to win, walk-off home run, wins the game. And as he's limping around the bases, I couldn't help but think, that celebration came too early. We should have waited a little longer before we started getting cocky. And you can say the same thing about our celebration of Christmas today. It is the 4th Sunday of Advent, and Christmas is still 5 days away. Are we celebrating too early? Because there's actually this debate in worship circles that Russ tells me about, that you're not supposed to sing Christmas songs until you get to Christmas. And here we are, singing Christmas songs, and it's not even Christmas. But there's a deeper reason why we may not want to celebrate this Christmas especially, or any Christmas, is because in Christmas there's this tension between what it promises and what our reality is. It is a season And yet, we're sending 30,000 of our troops into war. It is a season of love, and yet the people we spend time with, especially this Christmas, especially during the holidays, are some of the people we find it most difficult to love. It is a season of joy, and yet there are so many of us who mourn. That it makes it difficult for us to realize how are we supposed to celebrate this Christmas. There are, especially during Christmas, we remember the people who we're not celebrating Christmas with. The family and the friends that we celebrated with before who are no longer with us for one reason or another. The people we think about all our longings during Advent, the longing for Barry's recovery, for reconciliation with people that we know we want to be reconciled with, and we know that this won't be finished even if we give it 5 more days. Is it possible that we're celebrating too early, and is it possible that you don't celebrate until everybody can celebrate, right? We mourn with those who mourn, so what are we doing rejoicing when there are so many in our world who are still mourning? Christmas feels like the celebration of a promise, but the promise has yet to be fulfilled. It's like giving a Nobel Peace Prize to someone, just hypothetically, who's barely started his career. And even Obama acknowledged this during his Nobel Prize speech. He said, "And yet I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge the considerable controversy that your generation's generous decision has generated. In part, this is because I'm at the beginning and not the end of my labors on the world stage. Compared to some of the giants of history who have received this prize, my accomplishments are slight." You give the prize once they've earned the prize. You have the celebration once the promises are fulfilled. Right? And yet that's not where we find our text. The text today is from Luke chapter 1, verses 39 to 45, and it's the telling of what happened 9 months before Jesus was born. It's the telling of the first Christmas celebration, and Christmas has not even come. Let's read this together. At that time, Mary got ready and hurried to a town in the hill country of Judea, where she entered Zachariah's home and greeted Elizabeth. When Elizabeth heard Mary's greeting, the baby leapt in her womb, and Elizabeth was filled with the Holy Spirit. In a loud voice she exclaimed, "Blessed are you among women, and blessed is the child you will bear. But why am I so favored that the mother of my Lord should come to me? As soon as the sound of your greeting reached my ears, the baby in my womb leapt for joy. Blessed is she who has believed that what the Lord has said to her will be accomplished."